pasa yon kasi the performance task in each grading really bears a very big weight for your for your grade. Kasi kahit minsan nagpapas kayo ng mga different activities like yung mga pinapasa nyo for submission, if you don't have your performance task with you, then ayun, hindi siya mag-bear ng ganun kalaking grade sa inyo. So pasa nyo para mas maayos. Alright, so yun. Wait lang aayusin ko lang muna yung kuwan ko. Alright, so you need to pass them. Alright, so welcome once again for those who just joined. Alright, I'm thankful that we are 27 here, and once again I'm also thankful again for those early joiners. I was surprised that puro lalaki, halos lalaki yung mga early joiners this morning. Alright, so meron pang umahabol na mag-join. Alright, so how are you going through? Kumusta po kayo?
Okay lang, sir.
Okay lang.
Okay lang po.
Alright. Very good. I hope that we are all okay. You get to know that we are on GCQ, no? And what are your ages ba? Anong mga edad nyo? At what are you 14, 15, 13?
Sir, 13.
13.
Sir,
13.
13 yung iba nasa group chat nagkuan 13. All right. So meaning hindi kayo pwedeng lumabas. Based on the IATF guideline for the GCQ, 15 and below are not allowed to go out unless they are accompanied by their parents. But I get to see that there are a few minors who are going out because it's also part of you that you need to masapul kayo mat nga agliwaliw mat basit, no? Ta syempre makapabannog mat ti ag module. How are you going so far with science? Is it just okay lang ba? Hindi mahirap ba, o is it like okay lang at least compared to other subjects? Kumusta yung requirements ko sa inyo, yung pinapagawa ko sa inyo? Is it that hard? Hindi naman
okay lang,
ano. When
Sir, narigat basit.
alright, somebody who mentioned about narigat basit. Ay nati narigat ejay. Would you like to share to me kung ay na narigat tayo tapag tayo mabalin tayong pagsuryaan dayta? Ay nati narigat ejay. Anybody? Jay nagsao. Nya tinarigat ejay. Any certain specific lesson that you are having hard time with? Ijay ba calculations? Ijay ba computations? Oh, ay na jay sino jay nagsawaya? Or dakwan. Pag-usapan tayo tap nung narigat kat isugarod nga dati teacher nga tumulong, di ba? So matitrabaho mi. So no mapansin nyo kat narigat maminsan kami the estudyante no marigatan. Kalangay nga i-push yung lahat nga sige daytoyen kastoyen nga no marigatan kayo kat pinaka the best yung pag damagan kat jay teacher yo kat iso naman nag-itad dit ati data nga module. Ngumdi ay nga maminsan dagito yung students, no? Before you're going to like ask for something, try to read first and understand everything. Maminsan damag kat answer kat adangay jay instructions iso nga ni adamat jay instruction kat apay dayta agdamdamag pay kas jay. Anyway, let's proceed now to your class. It's already 10:05. Let me share to you my screen. Alright, just tell me if you are already seeing what I'm seeing. Hindi pa tayo sa typhoon. Wait lang, hindi tayo sa typhoon. Alright, what we have right now is your lesson 7. But be mindful that this is already the second week of April and we'll be ending at the second week of tayo ng mag-i-end tayo ng second week ng May. So we're left only with 4 weeks. So hopefully we can finish today yung second quarter. Maybe this week siguro, then we'll proceed to your chemistry by next week, and by May we start with your biology. Alright, is it okay? We'll proceed now. Alright, so recap. Alright, ganito na lang para hindi tayo masyadong mahaba at salita ako ng salita tapos hindi ko alam din kung merong nakikinig or wala. So, what we're going to talk today is about earthquakes. So, let me ask you, anybody who has never experienced earthquake, never, hindi pa nakapag-experience ng earthquake, meron ba po sa atin ang hindi pa nakapag-experience ng earthquake? Hello? I need to hear voices because hindi ko nagdi-disconnect nga yung laptop ko sa internet namin, kaya kailangan ko makarinig ng boses pag nagtatanong ako. Baka mamaya salita ko ng salita, wala pa lang nakakarinig sa akin. Alright, do everybody experience earthquake already?
Yes, sir.
When was the last
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you experienced earthquake? Was it 2 weeks?
Last week.
Last week, no? Meron tayong earthquake na kwan. I experienced the earthquake, 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago na hapon. Have you experienced it? One hapon siya nangyari.
Yes, sir.
Alright. Meron
Yes, sir.
din yung earthquake 2 weeks ago na nangyari is maaga siyang nangyari. Umaga. Have you ever felt that one?
Yes, sir.
Alright.
No, sir.
So mga iba, kasi parehas ako, tulog pa ako that time, nakita ko na lang sa feeds ng Facebook ko na merong earthquake na nangyari, pero tulog ako doon, so I never felt that one. So there were some few of you have experienced while others didn't because tulog pa nga. But bakit kaya, no? Bakit kaya nagkaka-earthquake? Any idea bakit kaya nagkaka-earthquake? Natatawag tayo ayati ko, ati earthquake iti sa utayo. Gun isa ba di ay?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so any idea kasano ba nga apay nga nag-earthquake? Apay nga
The
tag-earthquake?
crust.
Alright, what about it? Nya timang mangyari jay. Just speak about yourself. What do you understand? Anybody?
Movement of the tectonic plates.
Alright, movement of the tectonic plate. That would be the more scientific explanation about it. Alright? However, yes, that's part of it. Pero no, sometimes when you get to, there was this earth science teacher of mine when I was in second year high school. Kasi wala pang K-12 dati. So tawag namin sa high school namin, second year high school. Which is equivalent to your grade right now, which is grade 8. My earth science teacher mentioned that whenever there's an earthquake, it only shows that the earth is alive. Would you agree? The earth is alive daw pag nag-earthquake. Alright, so parang ganun din, no? That we get to see that our planet is actually alive, and we get to appreciate that while nakakatakot yung earthquake, no? It only shows that yes, no? Earth is still alive. Because someday, no, with the human destructions that we'll be facing and developments and the consequences of developments that we are actually planning to accomplish, someday we get to see that hanggang kailan kaya si Earth na mabubuhay. If we get to see some few documentary films that we encounter, some others are trying to find life in Mars. Not that maybe we can transfer human to live on Mars. If given the chance that you are to be given to transfer to Mars, would you transfer? Kayo, what would be your opinion about it? Would you transfer if you're given the chance to transfer to Mars?
No.
No? Somebody said no. Others, kumusta naman yung iba?
Sir, no.
No
No,
din.
sir.
No din. Walang gustong pumunta ng Mars at pumunta doon at magsakop ng ekta-ektarya mga lupain doon na sayo. What do you think? So most of you said no. Alright, but before we're going to discuss more about your earthquake, if you get to see your page 68 and 69 in your module, there's a crossword there that talks about those different mga concepts that's related to your earthquake. Now, since you get to answer those ones and you get to encounter those ones, I'll not be exclusively explaining that one by one this time already in our discussion para makuha ko yung half for earthquake and half for typhoon later. Alright, so get to see, nakikita nyo ba? Is it clear in your printed module? Page 68, yung across and down. Klaro ba?
Yes, sir.
Klaro lang ba? Kasi medyo pixelated siya. Pero klaro lang ba sa printed na handout nyo? I mean sa module nyo?
Yes, sir.
Alright,
Yes, sir.
if hindi siya klaro, you can refer always to your soft copy of the PDF version of your module. Alright, para so, meron tayong kwan dyan, no? 15 na across and down till 15, number 15 at down hanggang till 12. So, this is something that you get to pass. I think this is really very easy, no? Pwede nyong answeran directly on that page, tapos ipasa nyo. For those who are passing ito hard copy, pwede nyong i-transfer ito sa paper, right? So, ayun. So, when talk about your earthquakes, no? It's related to what you call your fault. Ano ba yung fault? Yung fault, yun yung mga tinatawag nating bali, no? If you get to see, have you ever experienced this first picture here? Nag-experience na ba kayo? Kasi sinasabi dito fault. Tapos along with the fault term, it says here fractures along which block of rocks have moved. Experience na bang ma-fracture? Alam niyo ba yung fracture?
From a friend po.
From a friend, alright. So maybe because of injury, yung mga mahilig magbike dito, tapos yung magpapa lipad-lipad ng mga bike nila kahit hindi pang lipad yung bike nila, tapos bagsak, ayun, hindi maganda yung landing, yung fracture. Is this something familiar to you, no? You get to see here on the right picture a very long fault. And this is one of those biggest fault, no, in the United States. What do you think this is? Any idea what fault this is? Most common big fault that there is actually a movie about this one. Ang starring dito is si The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Have you ever even watched this movie? Ito yung isa sa biggest fault sa United States. Anybody who's an idea?
San Andreas?
Alright, this is the San Andreas Fault, right? So, tama, no? San Andreas Fault is one of those big fault. Have you ever watched that movie?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so
No, sir.
for some others, if not, then maybe you can search that one on YouTube. Parang nga dati movie nga in-upload na Ejay. You can watch that one. It's a really very nice movie also. Starred by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. So this is San Andreas Fault. So in United States, meron silang fault na pinaghahandaan because at some point, this fault daw is where big blocks move. And whenever there is a movement of those big blocks of rock, then expect an earthquake. Alright? So sa Philippines ba, meron kayong kilalang fault? Do you have any idea of a known fault in the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
Any idea? Can you share to us, Mr. Is it Mr. Dangan? And any names of those you know about faults about Philippines? A name? You think? Meron bang alam kayo mga pangalan ng mga fault dito sa Pilipinas? Because San Andreas is in the Philippines. Any idea?
West Valley Fault.
Alright, we have the West Valley Fault. We'll be discussing that one later at the end of this lesson. Alright, so just for us to be able to get to know more, no? The Earth is not actually a one piece of rock. If you get to see, no, the parts of, alright, pakita ko muna yung parts ng Earth. Alright, sorry. Is there? Wala pala ako. We know that the top part of the Earth is actually the crust. The crust is where yung mga solid part, yung mga kalupain natin kung saan, no? Yun yung pinakalabas ng Earth, the crust. Even in oceans, no? Under the oceans we have what you call the seabed. This is actually the crust. But let's just get to mention the crust, the rocks in the Earth is not a one-piece rock. Kasi pag one piece yan, do you think they will move? Just imagine, if the whole crust of the Earth is one piece, do you think it will move? Yes or no?
No.
Alright, no. Totoo yun. However, we get to see that, no? The rocks on the Earth are actually made up of many pieces that are broken. Parang mga ganito, parang puzzle. No? Na idugtong-dugtong dyan. Kaya nga, ang sinasabi nila, whenever there's a break, a fracture, it has the tendency to move. So therefore, kasi hindi siya isang buong one piece, yung lupa natin sa Earth, it's made up of many large pieces of rock, then they have the tendency to move, and therefore there's a tendency for earthquake to happen. If you get to see, ito yung sinasabi ni Mr. Dangan earlier, no, that we have the tectonic plates. And these are the major plates that are found on the earth. We have the North American plate. We have the Eurasian plate, which is the combination of Europe and Asia. We have the Arabian plate, African plate, Indian plate. And do you know, there exist, dito, nakita nyo to? Itong parang pink dito sa cursor ko. Can you see this one? Do you see this one?
No, sir.
Hindi makita, no? Pero this is what you call your Philippine plate. Meron tayong sariling plate natin na pinangalan sa atin. Alright? So, meron tayong mga different types of fault, but na-experience ito sa... have you ever discussed this one already in your grade 7? Discuss na ba ito sa grade 7? Do you still remember? Alright, these are the different types of faults that you'll be encountering. No? You have your dip slip, your strike slip, and your oblique. Pag dip slip kasi parallel, strike slip is sideways. No? You get to see that sideways happening, and oblique is a combination of your dip slip and your strike slip. So just imagine how the movement of the faults are. Pero I'll not be exclusively explaining this one already. Kasi we get to want to know the parts of an earthquake. If you have your modules with you, this is something that you are to discuss. Submit na lang sa akin also. Please turn your modules to page 75. If you have your modules with you, page 75, please just respond to me. If nakikita nyo na ba yung page 75 nyo? Alright, nakikita nyo na?
Yes, sir.
Alright, in the page 75, meron din kayong makikitang the same as the picture that you have here, anatomy of an earthquake. Ang problema lang, hindi siya na-print ng maayos. Hindi siya na-print ng maayos. Alright? So, problema niyan, the activity here should be that you are to pass this one and actually identify the different parts or anatomy of earthquake, because what is seen there in your module are actually blanks. So, can you see them? Ito, right now. Can you see them? Can you see it in your screen right now? I'll give you around siguro 3 minutes for you to start transferring the anatomy of your earthquake now to your module. You can copy this one, the ones that you are seeing right now on my screen. Alright. So, ito. And please, in your page 75, please put there for submission. Alright, for submission, ito. Alright, are you still there? Ito lang yung papagawa ko. Aside from the crossword. Alright, so start placing arrows there. Or if you have your pencils with you beside you right now, you can just write the arrows first and identify those different parts, kasi hindi maayos yung pagka-print ng itong page 75 nyo. Alright, I'll give you 2 more minutes for that. Just tell me if you're done.
Sir, done.
Alright, very good. Let's wait for the others maybe before I get to transfer that page to another slide. Maybe 1 more minute for the earthquake, for this part here in your anatomy of an earthquake. Alright, sige. I'll be sending to you a copy of this slides na lang, no, for in your group chat after we get to discuss this lesson that we have. But for us to be able to get to know more about earthquake, it says here sa top part na sinabi dyan, an earthquake is the shaking of the ground caused by sudden motions along faults or fractures in the earth's crust. Alright? You have here the first part, a very strong straight line there, pero in the real life, hindi naman straight yung fault. This is the fracture of rocks. So I hope that you get to identify it. Now, you get to see that along with those faults, no, side by side, we call them the plates. Massive rocks that made up the outer layer of the Earth's surface, whose movements along the faults trigger earthquake. And when we talk about your earthquake, the wave that is related to your earthquake is what you call your seismic waves. Alright? So seismic wave is actually related to your earthquake, the waves that transmit the energy released by an earthquake. And later on, I think narinig nyo na ito, meron tayong sinasabing epicenter and focus, and how are they different from each other. Alright, so ito yung dalawang gusto ko ring i-emphasize. Alright, but before going there, no, aside from sabi natin na movements of those faults na nagkukos ng earthquake, what are other factors that will also cause earthquake aside from the movements of faults? Any idea? Meron ba kayong alam na mga other activities aside from the movement of faults that cause earthquake? May I hear voices from males, mga lalaki dyan? I hope that you are listening, and I hope that you'll be also actively participating in this class. Now, aside from sa movement ng faults, any other things that happen on Earth that cause earthquake?
Volcano, sir.
Alright, what about it? Yes, tama yung answer mo. Pero what about it? Anong nangyayari pa? Kailan nagkakaroon ng earthquake sa volcano? Tama yun. Just continue. Kailan nagkakaroon ng earthquake when it's related to volcanoes?
When the volcano erupts, sir.
Alright, very good. Alright? That's the reason why, no, when you talk about your earthquake, it has two origins. Either tectonic in nature, which was mentioned by Mr. Dangan, tectonic movements of the tectonic plates, or volcanic in nature, which are actually caused by volcanic eruptions. So dalawa yung cause ng mga earthquakes natin, either movement of the plates or eruption of volcanoes. Alright, do you get that one? Nakuha nyo ba yun? Wala, it's really very ang masyadong tahimik. Alright, let's continue, no? When you talk about your faults, dalawa po yung types of faults natin. Meron tayong active and inactive. So, kailan natin masasabing active? If it moved within the last 10,000 years. Inactive siya pag the last 10,000 years hindi siya gumalaw. Alright? So, yun yung difference nila. Alright. This is a really very interesting concept here. When you talk about your when you talk about your tawag natin, your earthquake. Your earthquake is actually yung mga lupa natin are elastic. When you talk about elastic, they are actually just like your rubber band. Naghahanap ako ng rubber band dito. Teka lang, baka meron. Alright, meron. Alright? Let me unshare to you the screen right now. Alam niyo yung rubber band. Alright. Let me see if you're seeing what I'm seeing right now. Alright. Nakikita nyo yung rubber band na ginagawa ko? Can I hear voice?
Yes.
Alright, so rubber band. Meron akong rubber band dito. Medyo, nakikita nyo ba yung rubber band?
Yes, sir.
Alright, when you talk about yung faults nyo, para din siyang rubber band, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na elastic limit. Meaning, yung rubber band natin, if it gets to stretch and stretch, there will be a point in that stretching that at some point, mapuputol po yung rubber band natin. Parehas din ng mga lupa natin, gumagalaw sila. Alright? Gumagalaw yan sila. Let's say for example, 1,000 years, gumalaw yung lupa, nag-stretch. Tapos another 1,000 years, nag-stretch. Tapos another 10,000 years, nag-stretch. And another 10,000 years, nag-stretch. What happens to this rubber band if it reaches its limit? Anong mangyayari dito? Any idea?
Mapugsat, sir.
Alright, gusto mapugsat. kastamat lang timang mangyari iti dagatayo. Aggaraw nga garaw dati manung nga years nga umabot ti maysa nga panawon dita, nakaslamat lang rubber band no mapugsat daytoy inya ti mangyari, mapugsat ket nasakit, di ba? Iruwar na iti energy na. Alright? Just like your faults, no, whenever it reaches its elastic limit, it will later on release a very big energy, and that is now the cause of your earthquake. Do you get the analogy of the rubber band?
Yes, sir.
Gets niyo yung analogy niya? Ginamit ko yung rubber band for me to be able to demonstrate to you how earthquake happens. Alright?
Yes, sir.
So faults happen if they will stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch, or move and move and move until such time that they cannot anymore hold it. So para ding rubber band naputol, ayun, nag-release ng very big energy, and this is now what's happening. You're now experiencing an earthquake. So depende kung gaano ka stretchy nangyari yung lupa na yon, ganun din kalakas yung earthquake na mangyayari. Alright, let's go back to the slide. Do you see the slide now?
Yes, sir.
Alright, sige, continue tayo. I hope that you get to know the science behind what an earthquake is. So, when you talk about your earthquake, we have the parts of an earthquake. Meron tayong hypocenter and epicenter. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina, no? Sa anatomy of an earthquake. Narinig nyo ba yung word na epicenter?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Have you ever heard of the word hypocenter? Narinig nyo ba yung hypocenter? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Alright, hindi ito common. Kasi ang ginagamit minsan, hindi hypocenter, pero tinatawag natin sa hypocenter is actually your focus. Have you ever heard of focus?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Yung focus kasi yun talaga yung actually ginagamit. Pero focus and hypocenter are actually the same. Nakikita nyo tong picture dito?
Yes, sir.
Alright. You get to see that maybe this is the break or the fracture, which is your fault. And at some point, this actually fault, those two plates actually move and rub each other. And to that at some point, nag-release ng energy along that fault. And the original position of where the movement actually happened or took place is what you call your focus. Ang focus, usually nakikita natin how many kilometers going down the ground. Yan yung tinatawag nating focus. The focus is the original place where the earthquake happened. Focus. Pero, wala naman sigurong gustong magkali dyan and dig that one down and down just for you to know the fault. That's the reason why we have another term called your epicenter. Kung saan yung hypocenter or focus na nangyari, directly above it and onto the ground, that's what you call your epicenter. Alright? So kung saan man yung epicenter, directly down it is where your focus is. So just imagine, bahay nyo ito dito, tapos dyan yung bahay nyo, mismo yung epicenter. What would happen to your house? Alright? Do you get now the point of the parts of the earthquake, especially the origin and the one directly above it? Questions? If you have questions before I get to proceed. Alright, so I'll take your silence as a yes. So paano ba na natin malalaman kung malakas or mahina yung earthquake? Any idea? How will
Sir, by magnitude.
Alright, you have your magnitude, tama, no? Magnitude. So, inya ba ti magnitude? Alright? So, yun. So, when you talk about magnitude, tama yung sinabi, no? The amount of energy released by an earthquake. So, bigger amount of energy release meaning stronger magnitude. Alright? And in that case, for magnitude, we have a scale for us to be able to determine how strong the earthquake is or how much energy was released by the earthquake. Now, we have two different scales, no? That we're using for magnitude. Ang luma, nung pakapanahunan ko, ang naabutan ko was the Richter scale. The Richter scale, no? We pronounce this one as your Richter scale. Pero may mas bago na ngayon. We have now what you call your moment magnitude scale. Alright? I think in your module, you have your Richter scale there. Nakikita nyo yung scale dyan. If you have your modules with you, kindly please turn your modules to page 76 and you get to see there your Richter scale. Alright, so meron tayong less than 2.0. This is micro earthquake, only recorded by seismographs. 2.0 to 2.9, minor. 3.0 to 3.9, minor pa rin. Do you see that one? Nakikita nyo ba yan?
Yes, sir.
Sa module nyo. That's page 76. So, we get to see that 10 and above is actually your massive already. Any idea how much or how strong was that killer quake in 1990 that actually destroyed Baguio City? May idea ba kayo kung magkano yung ilan yung magnitude nung nag-cause ng nabitak, or have you ever seen of photos of the Baguio killer quake? That was still 1990. No? So, hindi pa kayo nabubuhay. Baka magjowa pa lang yung parents nyo. Or hindi pa magjowa parents nyo. Baka high school pa lang sila. Alright? So, you get to see there, no? The Baguio killer quake was around 6 point plus, no? Which is considered, pag 6 point plus, how do we describe, based on the Richter scale, that earthquake? Is it micro, minor, light, moderate, major, great, massive? 6 point something, 6 point plus.
Strong.
Alright, we consider that one your strong earthquake. So malakas na yun. Kaya you get to see that Hyatt Hotel was damaged, the Sky World actually also damaged. No, yung Session Road na yan, sira-sira yan dati. Alright, so let's continue with the other one. For us to be able to know the strength of an earthquake, hindi po yung magnitude yung basehan natin, but we have an instrument called your seismograph. Have you ever seen a seismograph in the real world? Nakikita nyo ba tong picture
No,
ko?
sir.
Alright. Have you ever seen that whenever there is, eto, makikita nyo yung parang manipis na parang ballpen dyan? Alright. This actually records vibrations that's happening on the ground. Ito, tumatakbo itong parang tissue roll. Tumatakbo ito, umiikot ito. Ito naman, parang nagsusulat yan dyan sa paper. If you get to see that there is a movement side by side, very strong movement there, you get to know that there is an earthquake. Alright? So, seismograph po yung ginagamit natin for us to be able to know the strength. However, for the amount released, that would be your magnitude, and we use your Richter scale or your moment magnitude scale, or simply we call your MMS. Alright? So, ito yung Richter scale, no? Pinapakita din another picture of our Richter scale. This is your moment magnitude scale. This is now the newer version of your Richter scale. Kasi makikita natin dito sa kabila kung paano siya, how is it compared to other activities. Do you know the Hiroshima atomic bomb? Have you ever discussed this one in your grade 7 history?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so Hiroshima, alam nyo yung when the Japanese actually bombed Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, ang daming mga American soldiers ang namatay doon kasi binomba ng mga Hapon. Now for Americans to have their revenge, they actually naglaglag sila ng bomba doon sa Hiroshima and even affected Nagasaki, and that's actually your atomic bomb nung World War II. Just imagine that Hiroshima atomic bomb is actually around 6 to 7 magnitude, no? Which is actually almost the same as the killer quake in Baguio. Imaginein mo yung Baguio City nilaglagan ng atomic bomb. Alright? So, ito yung maganda sa moment magnitude scale. Let's proceed to what you call your intensity. Now, you get to encounter two types of their terms. Meron tayong magnitude and meron tayong intensity. Just be mindful that whenever you talk about the amount released, it's your magnitude. However, when you talk about intensity, it actually talks about the damage of the property. How damaging was the earthquake? Ganun po ang sinasabi ng intensity. And you get to see here, the PVOX earthquake intensity scale from 1 until number 10, which is actually telling you right now it's completely devastating. Now, since it's mentioned about PVOX, nakikita nyo ba yung PVOX dito? Do you see it?
Yes, sir.
Alright, now, this is the agency that is responsible for monitoring your earthquake and your volcanic eruptions or volcanic activities. Now, anybody in the group right now who are listening will give me what does PVOX mean or what does PVOX stand for. Meron kayong idea kung anong meaning ng PVOX? PHIVOLCS. Anong meaning nito? Any idea? You can start googling this one. Pero ano nang meaning nito? I dapat alam nyo ito. Kasi yung Pilipinas, no, suki din tayo ng earthquake.
Sir, Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology.
Yan. Pwedeng mabalin mong ulit yung last mo nga binasa nga S nga grugi. So, yes, it's true. Philippine Institute of Volcanology and
Seismology.
Alright, seismology. Because if you still remember, the wave that is related to your earthquake is your seismic wave. So therefore, it talks about seismology, no? So Philippine Institute, yung PH dito, PH is Philippines, ang I dito is Institute, ang VOLC is volcanology, and yung S dito sa last is seismology. Therefore, it stands for Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. This is the agency in the Philippines that is responsible for monitoring earthquake and volcanic activities. So, PVOX po, hindi po pag-asa, PVOX po. Alright, let's continue. So, ganito po ang makikita natin sa intensity scale natin, sa PVOX intensity scale, how damaging the earthquake was. So, please, hanyo nga pagbaliktaran ti magnitude and intensity. Magkaiba po sila. Si magnitude, amount of energy released. Si intensity, how much damage did the earthquake cause us. Alright? So, ito po yung difference nila. Alright? I think wala ito sa module nyo. Pero ito yung difference ng intensity and magnitude. Alright, let's get to proceed some more with this one, no? Konti lang dito. Have you ever heard of the term tsunami? Tsunami, narinig nyo na ba ito?
Yes, sir.
Alright, tsunami. Ano ba yung tsunami na ito? No, ito yung mga malalaking mga waves. Nakapunta na ba kayo ng San Juan? La Union? Have you ever been there? Sana kung hindi na pandemic, nakakapamiss man nga pumunta sa beach. Pero have you been to San Juan in La Union?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Alright,
sir.
there is a time of the year wherein San Juan has really very big waves. It's nice for surfing. Na-try nyo bang mag-surfing? Ang ganda ng feeling ng mag-surf eh.
Yes, sir.
Alright. But, in tsunami, this is caused whenever there is volcanic eruption kasi minsan meron tayong mga volcanoes found underwater. Nasa baba po ng ating mga karagatan. Dating mga volcanoes ijay. Or if there is an island where volcanoes are and there is actually an eruption, it causes earthquake, and therefore minsan yung paggalaw ng mga lupa natin mag-cause ng mga malalaking mga alon, and this is now what you call your tsunami. Have you ever seen movies of this one? Na meron yung mga
Yes, sir.
meron yung movie na isa silang pamilya nagbakasyon sila sa Thailand, I think, or sa Malaysia or sa Indonesia. Tapos
Mission Possible.
No, not na Mission Impossible. A story of five members of the family na napunta sila, nagbakasyon sa, I think, sa Indonesia. Sa resort nila, kasi merong nangyaring earthquake, nagkaroon ng isang malaking tsunami. And they were washed out in the ocean, causing the 5 members to be lost. Nakahiwalay-hiwalay sila. Imagine mo, yung mga tubig na nasa dagat, pumunta na doon sa loob ng island. No? Ito yung tinatawag nating tsunami. If it's caused by earthquake or volcanic eruption, saka lang nating sasabihin nating tsunami. Pero yung nasa Hawaii, nasa San Juan, anong klaseng wave yung tinatawag natin doon? What wave? Because it's not tsunami, which means harbor waves. What are those waves that we use for surfing? Anong tawag natin doon? Any idea of what is that wave? May idea ba kayo kung anong wave yun? Right, you call that one your tidal wave. Tidal wave yun, no? It's caused by the pull of the sun and the moon, especially if nag-align sila, mas mataas yung tide. Alright, so that is tidal wave. So tsunami. Hindi ko na i-mention dito yung mga preparing for earthquakes kasi alam nyo na ito. Alright? Pero gusto ko lang ipaalam sa inyo, meron ba tayong instrument for us to tell us or warn us, magbibigay ng warning na merong earthquake na paparating? Meron, wala? Is there an instrument that will tell us or warn us that there is an earthquake happening? Yes or no? Meron ba kayong alam na instrument na nag-warning sa atin na, oy, merong earthquake na paparating?
None.
Meron? Meron, wala? Yes? Meron, wala? Alright.
Wala po, sir.
Wala talaga. That's the reason why it mentions here in your first bullet, earthquake is something that is unpredictable. Kasi wala pang scientist ang nakakahanap ng instrument na sasabihin sa atin na in the next 3 minutes, there will be an earthquake happening. In the next 10 seconds, merong earthquake na mangyayari. Wala pang nakahanap ng instrument na magbibigay ng warning sa atin. That's the reason why, if you still remember during our face-to-face, meron tayong twice a year na ginagawa nating drill. Anong tawag ng drill na yon?
Earthquake drill.
Alright, earthquake drill. If you are actively listening and doing that one during the earthquake drill, ano po ang dapat nating gawin during an earthquake? Ano yung tatlong dapat na gawin?
Duck, cover, and hold, sir.
Alright, duck, cover, and hold. Yung duck po, hindi po yung duck na parang maglalakad ka na parang pato. When you talk about duck, you need to cover your head and stay below the ground and find something that will protect your head. Some others would go under the table, some others would go under their chairs. That is what you call your duck. Then at the same time, cover your head and hold. Ano yung meaning ng hold? Saan kayo hahawak? Pag merong earthquake, duck, tapos na tayo sa duck, tapos na tayo sa cover your head. Ano yung tawag natin? What does it mean when you talk about hold? Students, anong meaning nun pag sinabing hold? Ito yung sinasabi. Yan yung sinasabi natin eh. Alright, meron pa palang patong picture dito, pero hindi ito. Alright. So, what does it mean when you hold? Please hold onto something that is stable. Alright, yung stable, yung hindi gumagalaw, yung hindi matatanggal. Pag humawak ka at natatanggal lang yan, you're not secured. Napansin ko kasi during that time when we'll still have our face-to-face, yung iba, hinahawakin yung paa ng classmate nila. Have you done that one? Duck, cover, and hold. Tapos hinold mo yung paa ng classmate mo. Tapos saka maglalakad na, hindi mo binitawan, no? You still are pulling the hand or the foot of your classmate. So, hold on to something that is stable. Alright? So, ito yung duck, cover, and hold. So, ayun. What was mentioned by Mr. Dangan earlier was actually the West Valley Fault. West Valley Fault is something that is a very long fault in NCR. Ang tawag po natin dyan, Big One. And you get to see that this is 100 kilometers in length. And tingnan nyo kung anong mga syudad sa NCR or National Capital Region ang matatamaan nito pag ito ay bumigay someday. It may generate around 7.2 magnitude. Any relatives who are living here in Muntinlupa, Las Piñas, Parañaque, Taguig, Pateros, Makati, Mandaluyong, San Juan, Quezon City, yan yung posibleng matatamaan. Kaya someday, no, itong West Valley Fault ay gagalaw ito. Hindi natin alam kung kailan, pero we all need to know what to do if ever earthquake will happen. Alright, so tapos na po tayo sa lesson number 7, which is your earthquake. Any questions? Questions?
None, sir.
Yes, sir.
None so far. Oh, tapos na tayo sa earthquake. Punta tayo sa I'll spend the next 15 minutes for another type of your another type of your ma-encounter natin. Lesson 8 tayo, typhoons. Okay pa ba kayo? Alright, typhoons. Are you still okay? Okay pa ba kayo?
Yes, sir.
Alright, typhoons naman tayo. Alright, tanong-tanong na lang ako para madali. Alright. Napansin nyo ba bakit suki tayo ng typhoon ang Pilipinas? Bakit kaya suki si
Malapit sa
Pilipinas
tubig, sir.
Ha? Yes? Apay?
Malapit sa tubig.
Malapit sa tubig, tama 'yon, no? Alright, so tama yung answer na 'yon. So just stick that one in your mind. Malapit tayo sa tubig or napapalibutan tayo ng tubig. Malas ba tayo? Kasi napapalibutan tayo ng tubig. Alright, so tingnan natin. Alright. Oh, my another question. How many typhoons does it happen 1 year in the Philippines? Mga ilan kaya? Mga ilan kaya yung typhoon na dumadaan sa Pilipinas?
Sir, 20.
Alright, around 20 plus. Alright, 20 plus ang mga nangikwad. So imagine, no, 20 plus na typhoons every year ang dumadaan sa atin. Agragsak kayo pa idi, no, ibagada ka tagtay typhoon kat class suspension. Tatakat, no, may isang year kayo nga na-suspend ga awan ti face to face it kayat yung agsubli ang klase. Do you already miss face to face?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Alright, daytoy experience ko as a teacher. Apay ngay idi adati face to face kit adu-adu at tinagab-absent. Tatakat considerin tayo nga daytoy 1 year nga daytoy kat kasla nga absent amin ta awan ti face to face. Ngam apay nga tatakat excited kayo manon nga akikita-kita. Di ba? How ironic that is. So sapay kumano dumteng di aldaw nga adati face to face. Wag na kayong mag-absent, di ba? Kasi alam niyo yung feeling ng mahabang absent, di ba? Nagboring gayam din na atidug ti absent oray shock. Mas kayat kung agsuro face to face kaysa kastoy nga setup. Awan ti kabalinan tayo, takastoy talaga pandemic. Alright, so let's go to your typhoons. Yung mga pangalan na typhoons, ang ginagamit lang niyan, iba-iba po yung ginagamit ng mga pangalan dito sa atin. No? Sa Pilipinas, in the Asian countries, we call that one your typhoons. However, for scientists, we call this one your tropical cyclone. Alright? Tropical cyclone po ang tawag pag scientists po ang gumamit ng term na yan. However, in US and European countries, ano kaya tawag doon? Kasi na-answer ko na itong question sa baba. In the Philippines and other Asian countries, ang tawag po natin sa tropical cyclone ay typhoon. Ano kaya sa US or European countries? Any idea?
Tornado?
No, tornado is a different thing. Halos parehas siya, pero it's not tornado. Sige, another try. Oh, meron na nag-try na tornado? No, it's not tornado.
Hurricane, sir.
Alright, tama, correct. Hurricane ang tawag natin dyan pag nasa US ka or Europe. Kaya pag nakipag-usap ka sa Amerikano at sa European, when you mention about typhoon, they may not be familiar with it, so you can mention hurricane. Alright? Hurricane po ang tawag sa kanila dyan, hindi po typhoon. That's the reason why, if you still remember, you know Typhoon Yolanda? Naalala nyo pa si Typhoon Yolanda? Grabe yung destruction na ginawa niya sa, di ba? I was still in Visayas that time when I felt the strength of Typhoon Yolanda. Ang lakas masyado. However, for the Philippines, we call that one your Typhoon Yolanda. Do you know the equivalent name of Typhoon Yolanda in the United States? Ano yung United States? Yes. Anybody would like to try? What's the US and European name of Typhoon Yolanda? Ano kaya? Oh, anybody would like to try? Oh, it starts with hurricane. Pero ano yung pangalan niya? Anybody? Wala, hindi. Alright. It starts with letter H din, yung pangalan niya. Maglalaro ba?
Sir, Haiyan.
Alright, very good. Haiyan po ang tawag niya. So therefore, in the Philippines or in the Asian countries, we call that one your Typhoon Yolanda. However, in the US and Europe, they call that one your Hurricane Haiyan. So wag kayong magtaka kung magkakaiba yung pangalan ng ginagamit, especially if you're going to read or listen to news. CNN is actually an American news company. When they talk about mga ganong mga tropical cyclone, they will mention Hurricane Haiyan. Pero sa local news natin, ang tawag dyan, Typhoon Yolanda. So wag kayong magtaka kung magkakaiba-iba yung pangalan. Alright? So, tama yung sinabi doon. Alright. Ang tanong ko ngayon, di ba? Meron tayong mga pangalan ng mga typhoon. Di ba we name our typhoon? Tama? What other names of typhoon do you still remember? Meron ba kayong mga alam ng mga pangalan na typhoon? Ano ba akong nilagay dito? Wala. Anybody?
Typhoon Ulysses?
Meron tayong Typhoon Ulysses, tama. Ano pa? Any other names that you just remember? We have your Typhoon Pepeng, we have your Typhoon Kidan, your Typhoon, yung meron yung paparating ngayon na low pressure, that would be kung magiging typhoon siya, tawag natin sa kanya Typhoon Bining. 'Yon. So ang tanong ko ngayon ulit, can you use the name again of that typhoon? Can we recycle names of typhoon? Let's say for example ngayon, ganito yung pangalan niya, next year pwede natin gamitin yung pangalan niya. Yes or no? Pwede ba?
Yes, sir.
Alright, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Meron ding nagsabi yes, merong nagsabi no. Alright. Ganito po ang paggamit nila ng pangalan. Every 4 years po, pwedeng ibalik-balik yung pangalan na yan. Siyempre baka maubusan ng pangalan, no? Every 4 years, we can reuse that name. However, we cannot reuse that name pag ano. Kasi minsan, meron tayong mga pangalan ng typhoon na hindi na natin pwedeng ibalik yung pangalan niya. Bakit kaya? Do you have
Kasi
any?
malalakas.
Alright, very good. We have what you call in your page 91. In your page 91 in your module, you get to see their naming typhoons. If the typhoon caused at least 300 death, kung marami siyang napatay, marami siyang na-damage, agricultural and yung mga buildings na yan, hindi na po natin pwedeng gamitin yung pangalan yan ulit. So my question is, can we still use Yolanda next year in this case kung meron mang typhoon na dadating?
Sir, no.
Alright, hindi
No.
na. Alright, tama. Hindi na. Kasi grabe yung cost ni Typhoon Yolanda. If you get to see a picture right now, this is actually Tacloban where Typhoon Yolanda happened. Alright? Ito. So ang tanong ko, what fuels a typhoon? Bakit meron typhoon na malalakas? Bakit may typhoon na mga mahihina? At bakit si Pilipinas suki ng typhoon? Tama yung sinagot kanina na tayo ay napapalibutan ng tubig. And isa pa, malapit tayo sa equator. When we are near the equator, meaning it's hot there. Mainit po doon. At since kung mainit yung tubig or mainit yung mga karagatan natin, if the oceans are warm enough, then typhoons may happen. Meron ba kayong narinig na typhoon sa North Pole? Meron ba kayong typhoon na narinig sa South Pole?
None.
Wala. Kasi nga malalamig yung mga karagatan doon. But since we live near the Earth equator, maiinit yung mga oceans natin dito na pinapalibutan sa Pilipinas, kaya suki tayo ng typhoon. We experience at around 20 to 26 typhoons a year. Alright, sabi dito, warm moist air, and we live near the equator, kaya suki tayo ng typhoon. Alright, so sabi dito, we experience at around 23 tropical storms. No? Sa 2020 pa lang, 23 na yung na-experience natin. Alright. So I will not talk about the typhoon formation already. Pero we talk about your classification of your tropical cyclone. Narinig nyo ba ito? Tropical depression? Kilala niyo ba si Mang Tani? Do you know Mang,
Yes, sir.
Mang Tani? Do you know Kuya Kim?
Yes, sir.
Who are they? Who are they? Sino sila? Sino sila? Ano ba ang nire-report nila?
Sir, weather forecast.
Alright, weather
Weather.
forecast. Tama yon, tama yon. And usually, you get to encounter them saying about like tropical cyclone, tropical storm, tropical depression, severe tropical storm, typhoons, and super typhoons. Alright? So, depende po yan kung gaano kabilis yung hangin. If the wind is actually around 61 kilometers per hour, that's tropical depression. And if the wind is exceeding around 220 kilometers per hour, that is now what you call your super typhoon. How do we consider Typhoon Yolanda? How will we classify Typhoon Yolanda? Is it tropical depression? Is it tropical storm? Is it typhoon? Or is it super typhoon?
Super typhoon, sir.
Alright, tama. No? Super typhoon siya. Kasi I think umabot si Typhoon Yolanda ng around 240 kilometers per hour. Just imagine a car running at 240 kilometers per hour. Tapos nilabas mo yung ulo mo doon sa bintana. How do you feel the strength of the wind? Baka maitayab kan. So, kasta kapigsa ni Typhoon Yolanda. Alright. Kung meron tayong PVOX earlier, which is the agency responsible for earthquakes and volcanic eruptions or volcanic activities, sa weather naman and mga typhoon, meron tayong tinatawag na pag-asa. Anybody who has an idea of what pag-asa means?
Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration.
Alright, very good. No, that's already found in your page 90 of your tawag nito, module, no? Nandyan yung Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration. This is the agency responsible for our weather, for our climate, for anything that happens about the sky or the atmosphere. Pag-asa po. Alright, hindi paasa, pag-asa. Alright. So, meron tayong mga yan, no? Mga posibleng mga pangalan na pwede natin gamitin for the names of the typhoon of the upcoming years. So bising pala yun, hindi bining, bising yung pwedeng mangyaring kwan. Kasi we have a low dip, kwan, no? We have low pressure sa LPA, low pressure area sa right side ng Philippines ngayon. And sabi nila, mahina daw na typhoon. If it will become a typhoon, they will call that one bising. So, andito na si bising. Right? Tapos, kung meron pang dadating ulit, si Krising naman ang papangalan nila. Dante, Emong, Fabian, Gorio, Juaning. So, mga yang mga pangalan. Alright, so, na-answer na natin ito. Alright. So, na-answer na rin natin ito. Bakit typhoon, Philippines is prone to typhoon is because we are surrounded with water and we are near the equator, meaning we have warm, moist air and water which causes typhoons. So, yun. So, meron tayong pag-asa, responsible. Alright. We have the Philippine area. Meron tayong PAR. Alam niyo yung PAR? Sabi ko, kit-kut dito tuloy. Students, nakita niyo ba to? PAR? I'd like you to please turn your page to page 92. Are you there already?
Yes, sir.
Alright, page 92. Alright? When you talk about your PAR, this stands for your Philippine Area of Responsibility. This is an imaginary line, no? That will tell us that whenever something or a typhoon, no, happens inside the PAR, we already own that typhoon. Sa atin na yun. So, ganun siya, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na imaginary line yan na parang ito. Ito yung tinatawag natin na PAR. Can you see that one? The black dotted lines in the photo?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Ngayon, yan yung
Yes, sir.
activity nyo rin. That's actually your activity 7. For submission din ito. Sa page 92. Can you see there a table of the points and the latitude, longitude?
Yes, sir.
Alam nyo ba yan? Alam nyo ba yung latitude, longitude? Kasi alam ko tinuro ito ni Sir J. Bon. So,
Yes, sir.
wag nyong sabihin hindi ito tinuro ni Sir J. Bon, ha? Alright. Let's go. Practicein natin. Itong mga points natin sa page 92, itatransfer natin ito sa page 93. Nakikita nyo ba yung picture na parehas ng nakikita nyo ngayon?
Yes, sir.
Alright, nakikita nyo yan. Alright, let's say for example, punta tayo sa page, sa point A. sabi dito sa point A, we have 5 degrees north and 115 degrees east. Alright? So, paano ba natin mahanap itong si 5 degrees north? Alright, let me share to you the screen of the the module. Para, kasi sa last batch ko kasi, nag-skip sila dito kasi hindi nila alam yung ginagawa nila dito. Kaya hindi nila ginagawa. But this bears a very big points. So, sana gawin natin ito. Huwag nyong i-skip ito. Alright, try natin i-answer ito para partida sa mga nag-join ngayon. If you have your pencils with you, I'd like you to have prepared that one. Try natin i-answer. Na-click ko ba yun? Ayun. May pa yung dumaang ambulansya. Page 92. Wait lang, loading Do you see my screen right now?
Yes, sir.
Alright.
Yes, sir.
I'll share to you paano natin gagawin ito para, ayun, dumaan na tayo doon. Alright, so nakikita nyo yung parang ganito?
Yes, sir.
Alright,
Yes,
so
sir.
punta tayo dyan. Sabi dito 5 degrees north and 115 degrees east. So alam natin pag north, andito yung arrow, di ba? Meron yung arrow dito going north, ito yung arrow up. Si east, saan ba si east? Is it going to the right or going to the left? Na naghang. Saan ba si east? Left or right? Ala, dapat alam nyo to.
Right.
Right, tama. Right. So, paano ba natin i-answerin itong activity nito? Kasi sabi dito for submission. So, point A, 5 degrees north and 115 east. So, all we have to do is for us to be able to find 5 degrees north. So, si 5 degrees, makita natin is going pataas. So, meron tayong 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, ang gagawin natin dyan, nakita na natin si 5 degrees andito banda. Tama? Nakikita nyo ba yan? 5 degrees?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Tapos, ang sabi naman, katabi ni 5 degrees sa point A is 115 east. So, saan si east? Going to the right. So, makikita natin ito, itong point na ito ay 115, 116, 17, 18, 19, 20. So, all you have to do is find 5 degrees north and 115 east. So, dito sa banda si 5 degrees and dito naman banda si 115. So, kung saan sila mag-intersect, maglagay kayo ng dot dyan. So, therefore, nakikita nyo yung dot dito, yung yung cursor ko.
Yes, sir.
Alright, lagyan nyo na ngayon ng dot yan dyan. Do you now know how to do this one? May idea ba kayo?
Yes, sir.
May idea ba kayo? For the others, do you know how to do this one?
Yes, sir.
Alright. After that one, you're done with your point A. Now, let's look for your point B. Saan naman si point B? Sabi si point B dito, 15 degrees north and 115 degrees east. So, hanapin natin si north muna, yung pataas. So, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So, andito si 15, itong linya na ito. And sabi dito, 15 degrees east daw. So, therefore, tatakan nyo naman ito ng another dot dito. Are you doing it right now?
Yes, sir.
Alright, kung meron na kayong dot, you can now proceed to other points like your C, D, E, and F. Gawin nyo na yan. Later on, after this discussion, identify nyo yung dots ng point C, point D, point E, the point F. Tapos afterwards, i-connect nyo sila lahat. And later on, makikita nyo na kung gaano kasakop natin yung Philippine Area of Responsibility. Do you get the point? Nakukuha nyo ba?
Yes, sir.
For the others, may I hear voices? Kasi isa to sa mga malalaking points na nilagay ko doon sa class record. No? Gusto ko magawa nyo to ng maayos. For the others, tell me if you don't understand this one.
Sir, no.
Alright.
I don't know what.
Amuyo ba, Jay, ko? Jay, graphing you, math? Meron yung
Yes,
x-axis,
sir.
x-axis and y-axis. 'Di ba? Naalala nyo 'yun? Ito
Yes.
yung x-axis nyo, yung east nyo. Itong papunta ng right. Yung y-axis nyo, ito yung papunta sa pataas. So for example, if sabi dito 5 degrees north, which is your north, is your y-axis. So 5 degrees andito, 5 degrees. Ito. So may linya diyan. All right. Let me copy this one. Let's play this one on Paint. Sorry. Kung hindi sana maglalag ito. Pero maglalag ata. Medyo mahina na yung laptop ko eh. Paint. Okay pa ba kayo? Medyo lumampas na tayo ng 11. Paint. Saan yung paint? Ayaw ah. Hopefully makita nyo to at hopefully hindi maghang laptop ko. Still opening, just wait for it for a while. Gusto ko lang kasi for the others, no, for you to know, meron pa dyan sa page 95